It's a Friday episode of Locked On Grizzlies. Vince Williams Jr. out once again due to an injury. The stars of the Memphis Grizzlies, I think ESPN ranked them one of the top 10 cores in the entire NBA. They love their head coach. Maybe we should let the top 3 stars for the Memphis Grizzlies do their thing, and we'll also preview Memphis Grizzlies Chicago Bulls coming up this weekend. It's a Friday edition of Locked On Grizzlies. Let's lock in.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Friday. Got to get down on Friday. You know how I roll on Fridays, Damichael. Fun. We are looking forward to the weekend. We are partying. Like the wise philosopher Rebecca Black once said, I'm Joe Mullinax. That's Damichael. We are your hosts for this fun-filled edition of Locked On Grizzlies. This episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. It provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. As proud members of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every single day. Like, comment, rate, review, subscribe, wherever you get podcasts. Again, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Check us out here, there, and everywhere. Make Damichael and I a part of your Memphis Grizzlies content consumption. Friendly reminder that we have a newsletter now, introducing the Locked On Grizzlies Daily Newsletter, your one-stop shop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Grizzlies newsletter. Damichael Cole of the Memphis Commercial Appeal. It's still the Memphis Commercial Appeal. It might just be the Commercial Appeal. It's going to be the MCA to me forever, darn it.
There we go.
Of the Commercial Appeal there in Memphis, Tennessee, Memphis Grizzlies beat writers of that publication. I thoroughly enjoyed your show yesterday. I thought you did a great job standing on business, as the kids say, for one Desmond Bane. Tired of the nonsense in the YouTube comments. You know, it was a scheduled day off for me. And I think we texted during the game, and I said some words I was going to say on a family-friendly show about that nonsense that was being spewed. Nobody talks bad about my Desmond Bane, and I did say my Desmond Bane. It was meant to be awkward. I am very happy that he played well, and we'll talk more about Des later on in the show. But we're going to lead off, unfortunately, with you providing another beat reporter update in the negative fashion. I don't mean that in the way that you are bad at your job. I mean that as in what you have to report is not so good. The Memphis Grizzlies put out another medical update yesterday evening. Not a good one regarding one Vince Williams Jr., unfortunately.
Yeah, the thought on this one has been that it wasn't going to be great news when it would be delivered, and that kind of came to fruition. So Vince Williams will be reevaluated in 4 weeks here because of a grade 3 ankle sprain. Now, that sounds bad, and quite frankly, the next part's probably going to be worse because reevaluated in 4 weeks. I don't think anyone should be expecting him to play in 4 weeks at all. A grade 3 ankle sprain is a very tough injury. In recent years, in my time covering the Grizzlies, 2 instances come to mind when guys have had this injury. Dylan Brooks, I believe it was January during the 56-win season. And I don't think he came back to early March, if I remember correctly. And Desmond Bane, it was January of last season. And when people were kind of debating whether Desmond Bane should shut it down completely in that whole conversation, he came back in March. So in both cases, both guys missed well over a month, and quite frankly, closer to what you usually see with the grade 3 ankle sprain is that 6 to 8 week timeline. So I think on the bright side, on the, I guess, the optimistic side, you're looking at probably 6-7 weeks, close to 2 months. So no Christmas presents with Vince Williams on the floor, more than likely, but sometime in January, I think, maybe by MLK Day, maybe that's a a hopeful timeline, whatever the case may be. But it sucks because of the the human part of this, right?
Sure.
I talked with Vince when we were in San Francisco, and it didn't even register to me that he's been rehabbing for 8 months pretty much. until he said it. And I don't think most people have looked at his rehab process that way because there were two different injuries. Last season, remember, towards from March throughout the end of the season, he had the left patellar tendonitis injury. And then he suffered the left shin stress reaction before the season, and missed the beginning of the season. Didn't come back to November the 15th, and here it is today, November 22nd. We're talking about him missing, another at least what's probably going to be 6 weeks maybe. So this is a tough blow for Vince Williams. It's a tough blow for the Grizzlies, in their style of play, what they want to do. But they've had a couple wings step up as of late on the bright side, Joe. And maybe that's the silver lining here, that you're going to miss Vince Williams. But once upon a time, that felt like a dagger. But with the way that Jalen Wells and Jake Laravia have played, you can see the light in terms of the Grizzlies surviving while he's out.
Going into this episode, we were going to talk about the piece from The Ringer, I believe.
Yeah.
It was about how the Warriors are utilizing a 12-man rotation. Steph Curry is averaging less than 30 minutes a game, and the Warriors obviously are having success with it. The Grizzlies not playing as well, but they also have expanded their rotation a bit this year. And we were going to talk about that, and we kind of shelved it because of the Vince Williams Jr. news. But I do think it's worth revisiting once we see the Chicago game and see how the Grizzlies kind of interact with this, because in a world where Ja Morant eventually returns and Marcus Smart obviously will play again, and there's a place where they can still trot out a 12-ish man rotation. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. It's just more of a thought exercise.
Yeah.
I'm curious how that will look with Vince Williams Jr. out, because I want to stress, and I know you know this, we've talked about it a lot here, Vince Williams Jr. was a guy that we projected, if anybody was going to supplant Marcus Smart as a starter in that starting lineup going into the season, it was going to be Vince Williams Jr.
He fits.
And the fit, the way that he plays, the style, the willingness to do the things that don't involve scoring the basketball, so much of it was a clean-cut, easy fit for these Grizzlies. And now that's gone, at least for the time being. And I think, just for clarity's sake, partner, with this new timeline, I'm agreeing with everything you just said. Yeah. MLK Day makes sense. Does that mean that we're going to see G.G. Jackson probably before we're going to see Vince Williams Jr.? Is he the one who is now the longest out Grizzly?
I think that's
more than likely.
That's probably what it means. I think that's the way it's going to trend, at least. We're getting to that late November stretch when they're supposed to check in, on G.G. Jackson and kind of update the timeline there. So maybe in a week or so, we'll have a more firm update on when Gigi could be back. But last we heard was for him late December, early January. So all things still point to that potentially either being around the time Vince gets back or a little bit earlier. So right now, if I was a betting man, I would bet that Gigi Jackson is probably the first of the two to be back. But, like we just said, there's been some wing depth that's kind of been developed here. But, Vince Williams was a big piece and is a big piece to go in a different direction just with him personally and his growth. I hope he's still able to take that jump that I projected that he should be able to take this season while playing alongside of Ja and Jaren and Dez and those guys more. I hope this doesn't deter his progress of being a really impactful NBA player too much. This is tough on the mental. And I was talking to Jaren about the other day too, just about the fact that rehabbing sucks. Like these guys don't wake up and go, yes, let's go to rehab. Like, it's tedious. It's the same stuff over and over and over.
It's lonely.
It's lonely, Joe. It's just you and the trainers. And it's not like you're getting ready for a basketball game, the next day. Like, you're at practice, the secret's out. Nobody really loves practice like that. But at the same time, you practice because in a day or two, hey, we got a game. We need this practice to be better for the game. You gotta be real big picture when it comes to those rehab assignments. And for him, he's been rehabbing. He said he was the one that said 8 months to me. I didn't even map the time out. He was like 8 months. So I know it's tough on the mental. You get back, you play a couple games. The worst part about it is Vince Williams wasn't even 100% yet with the shin reaction injury. So this is, I mean, I wonder how he's going to continue to press forward on that front. And maybe it was more mental. Like, of course he was healthy. The Grizzlies wouldn't clear him if he wasn't healthy. But he kept telling me, like, I'm working my way back. Like when he was guarding Steph Curry, when he was guarding all these different types of guys, Jamal Murray, etc. It's like, I'm not all the way there yet. And now you have another injury on top of it. And I just think of certain times when Jake Laravia was playing really good basketball his rookie year, and he was like, man, that illness set me back. When Zaire Williams was playing his basketball in certain stretches, and he was like, oh, this injury and that injury, they were tough on me. I hope, it doesn't come to anything like that with Vince Williams. He's a solid player, and I hope he's still able to continue that rapid progression that he's shown.
The mental aspect's a really big one, and I do think that can't be understated. 8 months, but who's counting? I promise you, Vince Williams Jr. was doing some counting. So get well, Vince. You have fans here on Locked On Grizzlies. We hope that you recover well. We're sending good vibes, and you're somebody that can most certainly help this Grizzlies team in especially that post All-Star stretch, worst case scenario.
Oh yeah,
it's someone. I promise you'll hear somebody say around the trade deadline, he's our mid-season acquisition. Vince Williams Jr. is. So he's going to be a big one. We send Vince our best. Hopefully he recovers well and comes back better than ever. This episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by Chime. Chime helps you make progress with fee-free overdraft up to $200. Your next deposit is applied to your balance. You can get spotted on debit card purchases and cash withdrawals. You can join millions of Chime members who are working on their financial progress. To date, Chime has spotted members over $30 billion with a B dollars. Friends can give friends a boost with Chime, and when you do that, they can boost you back temporarily to raise your limit. Set up direct deposit in your Chime account. After a qualifying direct deposit of $200 or more, Chime will notify you to enroll in something called Spot Me. Chime never charges fees or interest for using Spot Me. Make your fall finances a little greener by working towards your financial goals with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/NBA. That's chime.com/NBA. Chime feels like progress. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Spot Me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in Spot Me and are subject to monthly limits. Terms and conditions apply. Go to chime.com/disclosures for details. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is also brought to you by Game Time. I love going to basketball games live. Damichael, you lucky guy. You get to go to all sorts of basketball games. There's nothing like it. Celebrity sightings in the big cities or even in Memphis, right? You never know when Glorilla will show up. Yeah. The sound from the court, the feel of the crowd. I love going to games at FedEx Forum. I know Damichael agrees, and you can get yourself going heading into the new year with the great folks over at Game Time. Game Time picks allow for curation to have it be an easier experience for you, saving more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. You can have an all-in pricing feature that you toggle on to show the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout, and you get the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON Grizzlies or Locked On NBA, for $20 off your first purchase. Again, Locked On NBA is where you would go. You create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So Damichael, a lot has been made of Taylor Jenkins this week, right? And in recent weeks, his rotations, his play calls. We've talked about that a decent amount here on the show. And you mentioned it a little bit yesterday. What I noticed and I wrote about in a piece over for Grizzly, I'm a contributor there this season because I missed writing and I enjoyed doing it. Between that and the newsletter.
I've been reading. You've been cooking, man.
Am I like Jordan wearing the 4-5 back in the day?
I mean, back like you never left.
It's not to play games with you. It's to aim at you. Jay-Z, let's go bars on bars. Anyway, tangent there. I love the Black Album. Great. I might listen to that this weekend. But anyway.
Joe listening to the Black Album.
I mean, second verses. I could go on and on. But anyway, I'm going to stop because I'm embarrassed myself. Point being, I've been writing a lot, and I like it. I'm happy to be doing the newsletter and Grizzlied. And the piece that I wrote was about Taylor Jenkins establishing a culture. And one of the biggest parts of establishing a culture, Lionel Hollins understood it, like we talked about earlier this week. Taylor Jenkins gets it too, whether you like him or not. And one of the biggest signs of that is his three biggest stars, Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, all very clearly love the guy, right? Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. hyped him up on social media. Desmond Bane, in a piece that you wrote over at the Commercial Appeal, talks about how significant Taylor has been for him. I think he called him the best coach he's ever had.
Yeah.
So I where I'm going with this is, we make a lot of the rotations, and I'm guilty of it too, right? Like I talked about turning heel on Taylor Jenkins on social media. So I'm not going to act like I'm innocent in this conversation.
We've all had our critiques. Yeah, I've critiqued them.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's been fair at times.
I think it's important to still criticize someone that you think is good for the job.
Yep.
Taylor Jenkins is the right guy for the job. That has my opinion on that hasn't changed. The folks that are very much out to get Jenkins are oftentimes the same ones who are the first to defend Ja Morant or these Grizzlies, like Desmond Bane doing the celebration to Caleb Martin, that people tried to make that a thing. Hopefully it hasn't become too much of a thing. I haven't noticed it. I know people have tried. And like the celebration aspect may not be for everybody, but my point is when you're in a position to defend guys like that and you're supporting the stars, that's my thing. Whether you like the action or not, that's not what I'm talking about. Come on, stand up for Dez or stand up for Ja. Okay, that's fine. The stars are standing up for Taylor Jenkins. So maybe we need to relax a little bit on the criticism, because the guys whose opinion matter most, like if Ja Morant wanted Taylor Jenkins gone, he'd be fired almost immediately. Let's be real. And we see that with Kevin Durant. We've seen that with LeBron James. Ja is not quite those guys yet, but in Memphis, he might as well be that guy.
He is.
You're right. So the fact that they believe in him this much, maybe we should cut Jenkins some slack. Doesn't mean he's free from criticism, but we need to understand that as long as he has the ear and the hearts of the players, that's what really matters most in this.
They're bought into his message right now. And you can't stress how important that is enough, because Taylor Jenkins is in his 6th season. As we see in today's age, 6 seasons is he's one of the longest tenured coaches in basketball. Once upon a time, 6 was just, you just getting your footing going. That's not the case anymore. And with that being said, messages go dry. And the main thing for a coach is you never want to lose the locker room. You never want, a Ja or a Dez or a Jaren to second guess what you're saying, or to say, we think this is better publicly, at least. Of course, you have, situations inside, internally where guys disagree, and, you kind of try to, figure those things out. But I've talked to these guys, a lot. And, I touched on it a little bit yesterday, like about how I get it from the fans' perspective. You're seeing the rotations. You're wondering why Jaren Jackson Jr. is coming out at the 8-minute mark of the first quarter and Dez is coming out with him. And you're like, what is going on? What are we doing? What type of coach would do all these things? It's fair to know that the players know this stuff. Dez and Jaren know they're coming out at that point in the game. They're not moping around. They're not pounding. One thing that I got to emphasize is when we talk about the minutes stuff, because the minutes rotation is probably like the main thing that has people like fiery right now. Because I don't hear people complaining about his ability to develop guys. You heard that recently, Joe? You heard
no, and even with the offensive turnovers, that's been you and me, our major critique of the new offense. It's hard to argue with the results. They're putting up points. They're doing a lot of things that the goal being achieved on the offensive end right now.
Yeah, you already got like 6, 7, 36 games. So they're already way above the pace of last season. But with all that being said, getting back to those star dudes, I talked to Desmond Bane, Ja Morant, Marcus Smart. I don't remember Jaren saying it, but those other 3 guys for sure. They all keep talking about how tough it is to play in this new system. They're not sugarcoating that. Like, and that is important to point out, because you don't really hear Ja Morant saying a lot of things are really tough and complicated or whatever the case may be. But the speed, the pace, Taylor Jenkins wants these guys. I'm telling you, it's like every rebound, I'm sitting there, right behind Taylor Jenkins, and I'm hearing him yell, go, go, go. And I'm thinking, like, you got to really be conditioned to repeatedly do this possession after possession after possession. His idea, and this is the part where some people will say, okay, I get it. And some people will say that makes no sense to me, Damichael. But this is Taylor Jenkins' strategy, not Damichael Cole's strategy. The idea here is he would rather guys play 30 minutes, and in those 30 minutes, you're going full speed ahead in this pace that the Grizzlies like to play, rather than have a guy out there 36 minutes saying, oh, coach, I'll give you the best of me for 24, and then for 12, I'm going to be trying to catch my breath in between and try to make sure I'm I got some energy left for the more critical possessions or situations. No, that's not what he wants. And some coaches are okay with that. Some coaches will hide you on the defensive end. Hey, go guard the spot up shooter in the corner, rest on defense. We need you full, we need you on offense. No, he would rather say, hey, if we got to play Ja 31 minutes, if we got to play Jaren 28 minutes, in order to get him playing full speed the entire time he's in the game, emphasizing the pace that we want to play at, we'll do that.
The Memphis Grizzlies, in terms of pace, according to Basketball Reference, as of this recording, are second in the NBA out of 30 teams. 104.1 is their pace number. Their offensive rating so far is 114.3, which is 11th in the NBA. Their defensive rating is 108.2, which is 5th in the NBA. 5. They are a +6 net rating. That is 8th out of 30 teams. What's the point I'm trying to make? Damichael, I know you know this because you follow the NBA closer than I do. You know what a mark of a championship basketball team is?
Yeah.
Being top 10 in defensive and offensive efficiency.
Yep.
And that is exactly what the Memphis Grizzlies are doing right now. Oh, by the way, for those that forgot in the last 5 minutes, Ja Morant has missed roughly half the season. Desmond Bane has missed multiple games. Marcus Smart has missed a majority of the season. This team is not even at full strength yet. And you can make the argument statistically that they have the early season modeling of a championship contender. Shout out to Taylor Jenkins. You have my respect. Still confusing sometimes, not going to lie.
Oh, no
worthy
doubt
of criticism. But again, hard to argue with results. When Damichael and I come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, we will preview the weekend game, Saturday night basketball, Grizzlies against the Bulls. Stick around. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by the good folks over at Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Damichael, the Grizzlies next take to the basketball court on Saturday evening. That's tomorrow night. It's kind of a national game. I guess we call it a national game on NBA TV against the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls are an interesting squad. We've obviously seen them already this season at one point. But at the same time, this is a Chicago Bulls team that on one night can beat the New York Knicks, and on the next night can lose to a team like the struggling Milwaukee Bucks. You never really know what you're going to get with these Chicago Bulls. They have talented scoring in Zach LaVine, obviously. Josh Giddey has kind of found himself as a creator of offense for the Bulls. Nikola Vucevic seems to have found the fountain of youth, or maybe he's just hoping Chicago finally trades him somewhere that he might contend for a championship. Whatever the case might be, this Bulls team, you don't know what you're going to get. It's a home game for Chicago, though. The Grizzlies should be well rested, relatively speaking. What are you looking for going into Bulls Grizzlies tomorrow night?
You got to have a better defensive performance than you did that first game against them. Do you remember that game? That was the game Taylor Jenkins was very, very upset with how the Grizzlies played defense in that game. That stands out to me. When they go back and watch the tape, because it was only, it was a little less than a month, 3 weeks ago at this point. I think it was October 28 when those two teams played. Put it in perspective how bad the defense was on that day. The Grizzlies, we always say 30 assists is the magic number for them, right, Jim? I think they have 6 games this season with 30 assists. Want to guess what their record is in those games?
At the worst, 5-1, potentially 6-0.
5-1.
There you go.
You're right. And now, since you're on a roll right now, you want to guess what that one loss is against?
I'm like butter. I'm going to guess that one loss was against the Chicago Bulls.
You like butter, man.
Woo!
And it was
Honey
against
butter with a little bit of cinnamon.
a little bit of cinnamon. Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
can get jiggy with that. I can get jiggy with
a
that.
little bit of sweet on the nice white or even wheat. I'm a wheat roll guy. I could go either way. But anyway, I'm hungry. Let's keep going here.
Yeah. Well, the Grizzlies' defense was sweet, on this day.
I see what you did there.
It was very sweet. 37 assists on the offensive end. The Grizzlies never lose when they have that many assists. But what Chicago did in that game was make 25 3-pointers. No matter how well the Grizzlies played, because they scored 123, they lost 126, 123. 25 made 3-pointers is too much. Zach LaVine torched them. I think he had 5 made threes. Kobe White had 5 made threes in that game. The Grizzlies' second half, they fell off in that game. That was the problem. I think you just gotta show them that tape. Nothing else should have to motivate you more than going back and looking at that team shred you in the second half, make 25 3-pointers. Vucevic was rolling. That's all I need to see. I only want to see the defensive improvement. Taylor Jenkins has talked about how guys have, started to round more into defensive form. We see the rating, as you said, the top 5 in the NBA right now in defensive rating. That's kind of what I'm going to be glued to in this game. You should have Marcus Smart back. That's the inclination that I'm getting. He should be back for the game. So another well-rounded defender. We'll see, what that means for where he's going to be, because you got an interesting scenario that we haven't really seen play out yet. And, because Desmond Bane came off the bench that one time, and then he came back into the starting lineup. So I feel like, and this is just feel, this is not anything that I've been told. I just feel like Marcus Smart is going to have okay, well, Des is back in the starting lineup, so that means I go back in the starting lineup. And maybe he does. And, maybe if that's the case, Jalen Wells, Scottie Pippen Jr., who goes to the bench, whatever. All that's got to be figured out. But yeah, it's all about the defense in that game for me. I'm not really going to be staring down the offensive side of the basketball too much. It's all about the defense.
I'm curious how they're going to utilize the big man, right? Because Zach Edey obviously remains out. Brandon Clark has been getting the start there. That's a name that you didn't mention, right? Brandon Clark being that mix to start. If it were me, and we're talking about getting weird here on Locked On Grizzlies,
what you got, Joe?
I might replace Brandon Clark with a Marcus Smart and go small. That would be something that I would be interested in. So that would give you a Scottie Pippen, Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, Jalen Wells, Jaren Jackson Jr. lineup. That certainly cannot be deployed all the time, right?
You would have had me with Jake Laravia because he's bigger body.
I think Laravia would be fine. My goal was if you wanted to stay with what you have.
Okay,
right?
okay.
If it were my way, I would go Laravia instead of Wells, and I would start Laravia at the 4 because he's a pretty solid rebounder, right?
He's really good rebounder.
You want to hear this? Well, this is a good way for us to end this week because it's gonna. I feel like I was too positive towards John Conchar this week. Jake Laravia is what everybody wants John Conchar to be. Okay. I feel about Jake Laravia the way that some of you, not Damichael necessarily, I'm talking to our wonderful audience. Yeah. Some of you feel about John Conchar. That is what Jake Laravia actually is. He actually is a basketball player who does all the things similarly to John Conchar in a better frame and actually shoots the freaking basketball. Okay.
You know what's funny?
What?
Which one of those guys you think got the contract extension and which one got his
Zach Kleiman can't bat 1,000, right? I'd say that was a swing and a miss for Zach Kleiman. But, I would rather see Laravia if they were to do that. I think the most likely thing, because it seems like he really likes what Pippen Jr. and Wells are doing, especially defensively, right? Like I think for all the struggles that those two younger players, Laravia too. But I think the way it would work out would be they would keep Clark in the lineup because, again, he does well defensively alongside Jaren, and they would bring Smart off the bench. Now, what does that do for chemistry? That's an interesting question.
He's also coming back from an illness, too. So it might not be this game when it's the game that he – like if the idea is to bring him back in the starting lineup after he just dealt with an illness that kept him out for, 3 games, probably not be the most ideal time to throw a guy, in the starting lineup. So that could be, come into play here, too.
That would be a solid cop-out. I mean, that would be a solid strategy going into the game against the Chicago Bulls. Let Damichael and I know in the comments. Hit us up on X at Damichael C for Damichael, at Joe Mullinax for me. What are you thinking about this game on Saturday night? Again, I just gave you the numbers earlier in the show. The Grizzlies' record doesn't necessarily back it up right now, but they have the early season profile of a title contending team. This is a game they should win if we're applying that logic, even with their current injury situation. It'll be interesting to see how the Grizzlies attack this contest. Let us know how you're feeling about it in the comments or on social media. The next time we're together here on Locked On Grizzlies, it'll be Monday. Got to get down on Monday. It doesn't have the same ring. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to Rebecca Black.
It don't hit the same.
Doesn't hit the same. We won't do that again. Rebecca Black and Jay-Z on the same episode, by the way. Go me.
Yeah,
That's very... I'm very eclectic.
You're versatile out here, man.
Yeah,
I'm a baking soda.
I'm the Marcus Smart of podcast hosts. I can do a lot of different things.
Or it's Jake Laravia, right? Let's keep it going.
Just don't call me White Rice, partner. Don't call me White Rice. We'll have a game to review, obviously, in Grizzlies Bulls. We'll have a game to preview. They play again at home on Monday night against Portland, I believe.
Yeah.
That should be another winnable game for the Grizzlies. So we have a couple of games to talk about, and then maybe we can revisit this rotation question, right? Maybe if we want to apply if we're going to trust Jenkins with this pace and the way that they're performing, maybe we tackle a 12-man rotation kind of question, not necessarily because we like it, but it might be the way of the future, right? The Warriors are trying it. Maybe the Grizzlies with their updated pace need to ride that horse as well.
Yeah, with teams playing faster than ever before, it maybe makes a little bit sense to play guys, more guys, since you're playing faster than other teams, historically have played. So, definitely looking forward to getting into that conversation. And that might be a star point guard who is starting to get a little bit closer to getting back.
Michael, you're the king of this.
There might be
of this.
That's we'll talk about it next week.
Damichael,
we'll have time. We'll have time to talk about it next week. We'll have time.
You believe this guy? What a cliffhanger from Damichael Cole. This dude waits to the end of the episode on a Friday to talk about. I don't know. There might be a top 15 guy in the NBA that has his own shoe line that might be
maybe
coming
the guy
back.
got his own shoe or something. Like that.
Yeah. I see you over there, partner. That's fair. That's going to be good stuff. All positive vibes. Again, I'm going to be honest. When I looked up those numbers a little while ago and I saw that they have the title contender profile, just about, given everything they've endured, that's a testament to this team, the roster, the way the guys like Laravia are playing. Kudos to the Grizzlies, man, because this time last year, like you and I have talked about, it was a heck of a lot worse. So
I said it before the season. One of the biggest concerns for me was, how would this team play without Ja Morant? Not to protect the injury or anything like that, more so to speak when he's on the bench, or even the few games that he would miss, and he's missed a few games already.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big question mark, and I think based off what we've seen so far this season, it's not like they've been world beaters. They have a great game, then they have a letdown and things like that. That's why, the record is 9-7. But at the same time, what you can appreciate is a lot of these games they won, they lost last year. This is a much, much, much improved team without Ja. We know they're an improved team with Ja. They're a much, much improved team without Ja, which is big.
They seem ripe for a run whenever that Ja Morant return may happen. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Thank you for being with us on this Friday edition of Locked On Grizzlies. Like, comment, rate, review, subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. We are proud members of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every single day. Check us out every time an episode drops. Remember to subscribe to the newsletter, the brand new Locked On Grizzlies daily newsletter, your one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage right in your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. Again, LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day each and every day with the Locked On Grizzlies, the free Locked On Grizzlies newsletter. For Damichael Cole, I am Joe Mullinax. Have a fun and safe weekend. Enjoy some football, some good football games on this weekend. Enjoy the basketball, Grizzlies Bulls on Saturday. Damichael and I will be right back with you here on Monday. Have a good one. Stay safe. Stay locked in. This is Locked On Grizzlies.